You may have played poker, but playing poker in Texas is a different animal. This is the Texas Poker Podcast with Tyler and Clint.
Hello, this is the Texas Poker Podcast. I'm Tyler. This is Clint.
What's up, y'all?
And we are back with episode 73.
Episode 73. So, kind of when we left off, I had just gotten to the Wynn, right, in the Vegas trip.
Yes, you're coming off of a losing session, I believe.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, oh God, you are not shitting yourself. Okay, yeah, I lost 700 Aria. I go to Wynn, and like I say, end up 1-3, and then get called to 2-5. End up going over there, and it's kind of the normal Wynn 2-5 game, or any, like, let's just say any Vegas 2-5 game, where it's not a great game. The vast like, there's like two players that aren't that great, and everybody else has a pretty reasonable idea of what's going on. I mean, they weren't great players. I would say the Aria 2-5 was more difficult, but it was a tougher table to be certain. I do like that the 2-5 is so much deeper stack, because 1-3 you can buy in for 300, I guess, so they can keep it like the recreational players, and 2-5 is like, I think, 1,500 max.
Such a big difference, but I guess it works.
Yeah, so I mean, you can buy in one, you can only buy in 100 times the big blind. I think the other one you can buy in 300 times. So I mean, you go from all these 1-3 where the average stack's like freaking like $200, and then you go to 2-5 where the average stack is, I mean, and most of those 2-5 are grinders who've been there for a while. So it's actually, the average stack probably is like 1,400 at least.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And what do you buy in for in these type of games?
I think I only bought in for 500. I mean, like, it's 100 times the big blind. I'm used to playing that size. I mean, I don't really feel the need to just, go crazy because somebody else is. I mean, because either I'm going to win and I'll have a deeper stack in a minute, or I'm going to lose and be super happy that I'm only 500 in front of me. So we're going to go... I go in there, and let's see what hands I kind of get involved in. Player raises to 15, 4 players call. I call with 7-8 off in the big blind. So, a pretty speculative call here. 7-8, but I mean, I'm in the big blind. I figure I'll just see what happens. I think I just bought in, so everyone's fairly deep stacked. The flop is ace 7-8. Pre-flop raiser bets 50. I'm the only one who calls.
You ever think about raising?
Yeah, I did. But it was one of those that if he has an ace, I definitely want to keep him in there. If he doesn't have an ace and I raise, he's going on... I mean, he's really drawing thin anyways. And if he does have an ace, I don't want to set alarm bells off just yet.
Did you say if there was a flush draw or not?
I don't remember. I don't think there was a flush draw in this hand.
Yeah, I think if there's no flush draw, I do like the call.
It's yeah.
But I'm 100% raising the turn.
I'm pretty certain I did. Well, I don't know what the hell happened. I was out of position. Turn goes check.
Okay.
The rivers are 2. I bet 100. He calls. I'm good. He says ace king, which, I mean, seems pretty standard on this line. I mean, nothing out of the norm. So,
how much did he raise pre-flop again?
He only raised it to 15.
Man, that is rough at the 2-5.
Well, I mean, at 2-5 though, the raise. I mean, I think they're usually at least 20, but they are like lesser raise sizes. But yeah, if he raises to 20, I think I just fold here.
Oh, easily.
Because yeah, I was wondering how I called here, but it's 2-5. I mean, it's only $10 more.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking 15 and 1-3. But yeah, that's how I ended up making this call. Not even that bad. Not that bad of a call. But yeah, he raises 20. I'm gone. Super results oriented in that thinking. But I mean, I'll tell you what. The more I've studied, like especially like these GTO type players, I don't subscribe playing this way. But I'm on like some of the Discord channels, like Crush Live Poker, Red Chip Poker, and I mean, I tell you what, they hate our large raise sizes all the time.
Why do they hate it? What do you mean?
Pre-flop, not so much, but like on the flop, like everything that's a bet is just such a small bet. It's like everything is like a third. I mean, a half pot bet seems to be huge in like these forums. I mean, my theory is, like, maybe that's a good GTO way to go about it. But if someone's gonna call the same exact with a 60% pot bet as they will a 25% pot bet, I mean, it seems like you want to go for max value.
It's what it seems like, but I mean, I do not think the GTO strategy was designed for the 1-3 game or 2-5 drunk guy.
That's true, yeah. I mean, I think you probably have to put more emphasis on that if you're in like 5-10, 10-20, where everybody studies, so I mean, it's far harder to exploit. But when you're in like the lower limit games, I mean, you bet big. I mean, if they have top pair, they're going to call. If they have a draw, they're still going to call. I mean, and I don't really understand the small bet size. If there's a draw, I mean, it seems like you're just giving them great odds. I mean, it's almost like they can't play the hand wrong at that point. And so, I mean, it's teach their own. Everybody's should always be learning at a rate. Anyway, the next hand we'll go to Jack 10 suited. The straddles to 10 with one caller. I make it 50. Get two callers. Flop 10-9-5 with two spades. I make it 100. Everyone folds. I don't know why I included this hand in the podcast.
I'm gonna say I like that.
I mean, very hard to say I did anything wrong. Maybe I'm like just finding hands where I'm like hit top pair. I bet everyone folds. I mean, you know what? Hard to criticize my play on that one. This was a more interesting hand on this win session. Pocket aces. Player bets 20. One caller. I make it 90 with pocket aces. The pre-flop raiser folds. The other player calls. Flop is 3-4-5. Like, I think me and you were going to defer because I think you think this is a bad flop for my hand, and I think this is a great flop for my hand.
After he calls the 90, I mean, I would say it's a good flop for your hand, but I would not say. I think when we talked about it, didn't I say like you don't have the sets, two pairs, or straights? But I mean, as far as a flop, I think it's okay.
Okay, I mean, because my thinking is like this is different than like a 7-8-9 flop to me.
For sure.
Yeah, it's like you're like once I make it 90, you know, there's not that much. I think a lot of the small pairs might actually fold, and then like 4-5 definitely isn't there and stuff like that. Which I think a lot of people like would look at this and be like, this is like 7-8-9, 8-9-10, or something like that, which is to me, a very different flop. Like this is because now this person's more weighted to overpairs to this flop, which I think is great.
I mean, I'm not even that worried. What did you say the flop was? It was
3-4-5.
I'm not even worried if the 6 comes. I mean,
yeah, you should not have a lot of 7s here.
Yeah.
It's so it's a like I said, we are kind of on the same page on this. I feel like this flop is really good for pocket aces. He checks. I bet 100.
I especially like this flop for you in a 3-bet pot.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
If this is just a raised pot, all of this goes away.
Yeah, that's the big clarification here. That might have been why whenever we talked about it, a different hand that I would say like this type of flop in a 3-bet flop is great for you, but in a raised pot might not be the best.
Oh, 100%. If this is just a raise and not 3-bet, then he has ace deuce. He does have 4-5. I mean, does have 6-7. I mean, yeah, 100. I 100% agree with that. I bet 100. He calls. The turn is an 8, which is pretty much a blank. The only thing that hits is pocket 8s. So, I mean, because 6-7's already a straight, so definitely not scared of that. He checks, I bet 200, he calls. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, the pot's starting to get kind of big, but I'm still thinking he's more weighted to over pairs. The river's a 5, he checks. I go all in for 180, he calls. At this point, when he calls, I'm a little nervous.
I think you're good all day.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, okay.
So that was a pretty decent hand. I kind of like the way I played that one because I think some people might get a little too timid with aces on there, and I think that was a really good flop.
That seemed a lot like jacks or queens.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. I mean, definitely some sort of overpair. I think it has to be. So this session is going swimmingly well.
This is the one where you were texting me like you're making the move out of the small blind, everything. Making some hero calls. I mean, I was like, man, you're on fire.
Oh, yeah. It was I was just killing at this session. I've run into this problem several times, and I get, like, I buy in for 100 big blinds. That's 100 to maybe 150, which is about like where I feel comfortable having the money in front of me. But once I go double, triple up and get down, like I think I'm sitting at like around 2,000. Some of these players that are constantly deep stacked, I feel like have a pretty big edge on me. I mean, they're just used to playing at this.
I have a funny story for you about that same type of mentality.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that? Because like back when I was playing in Vegas, I was playing a lot of super deep stack. I had at the Bellagio, I was playing until like 6 or 7 in the morning, maybe even like 8.
Okay.
But I'd run my stack up to like 6,500.
Mm-hmm.
And some like drunk guy partying from the night before who obviously had all the money, not just a little bit of, not just some money, all the money.
Wow.
Just kept going all in blind. Just kept rebuying in.
How much was he going all in for?
Like $2.5K.
God.
I mean,
damn.
that's what I'm saying. All the money. He just kept rebuying, just kept shoving it. I guess you only buy it for $1,500, but he just kept rebuying and shoving it, right? And then he stacked like 2 people in a big pot. Then he actually covered me at one point, right? I was like, I gotta go. I mean, this is not going to be the story of me losing a $13,000 pot with aces to like 7, 8 unsuited whenever he didn't look.
Well, not even just aces. How many people were at the table?
4 or 5 of us.
So I mean, like if he's doing this almost, was he doing it literally every hand, or just like a good portion of hands?
I would say maybe 8 of 10. Like, I mean, he would just basically play a hand and then just be like, I'm all in, just whatever.
So I mean, you should probably be making this call with like any ace, right? I mean, if he's doing this with the vast majority of hands, I mean, any pocket pair over 5s or 6s.
Oh, I mean, I know what you should be doing, but whenever it's a $2,000,
yeah, I'm not saying I'm doing it. I'm just saying from that mentality, like if you're not going to be doing it, you probably need to get up, right?
Yeah, well, and I was noticing he was starting to get to the point where he was covering me because he had stacked a few people there, and I was like, I mean, I gotta go.
Yeah, 100%. And this is one of those things like. It's so difficult because as a poker player, this is supposed to be what you're waiting for. But there's also a certain point where bankroll management, if you've built it up to a point where, you don't really feel comfortable losing it and it's a big portion of your bankroll because you've had a monster session. I mean, it's basically saying, we're going to flip a coin 6 out of 4, and that person might be 40% to take it all. But that 40% hurts you way more than that 60% hurts that other person.
Well, and here's the other thing, right? Is I was in for 3 bullets.
Oh,
so
wow.
It wouldn't just be losing the 6K; it'd also be swinging down 3 bullets, right?
Oh.
So I was in for 3 buy-ins. Yeah.
So were you up? What is it? Did you buy in for 1,000?
Yeah.
So okay, so you were up 3,000. I mean,
3.5. Yeah.
Yeah, good call. I mean, because that could have been a just god awful story there. And like I say, as a poker player, you're kind of looking for these spots, but not outside of your bankroll to a huge degree, though.
Yeah, and that would have been it.
But yeah, this has constantly been a struggle. I think through playing poker It's one thing when I'm super deep stacked, I've been having a monster run, and like nobody's kind of close to me. It's another thing when like I'm bought in for way less than everybody. I've run my stack up, and now everybody still covers me. This is gonna be one of the more weirdly played hands I've ever played. It could, I mean, there's no clarification. It could be really good or really bad. I mean, I will say the amount of money definitely comes into play. A player bets, I mean, I want to say he probably bets 20 to 25. It comes around to me, I pocket kings.
So you raised to probably like 100, 125?
Yeah, I want to say there's probably like a call or two in there. So
maybe 150?
Yeah, it's probably about 115. Actually, I think that's exactly what it was. The guy to my left who's been kind of loose.
You made it 115?
I think about. I mean, when you had his 20 to 25 and then maybe one or two callers, I think it's probably pretty close to that.
Okay, I think I would have sized up a little bit, but all right, continue.
Okay. I was not expecting that comment. So the field, there's a field caller who just cold calls my 115.
That's concerning.
That is super concerning and throws this completely off the goddamn rails. Comes back around to the pre-flop raiser, who then makes it 340. Comes back around me.
So we're all in. Right?
I'm
well, how much do you have?
Probably like 1,800 deep.
Okay, so you put in 1,000 here and commit yourself.
Maybe that's what I should be doing.
That's what I would be doing because you got that guy behind you, which incentivizes you to raise a lot.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a lot of reasons why I should play this differently. One, as I had been 3-betting fairly regularly on here.
You said you have or have not?
I had.
Okay.
The guy, like you say, calling on there. But all I'm seeing is this monster session, this Vegas trip going to shit when I run my $2,000 stack into somebody else's $2,000 stack and show aces to kings. Because guess what? When I see 2,000 and when I see it go all in pre-flop for that amount, guess what I see every goddamn time? Aces and kings. I make the call.
Okay. So obviously the guy behind calls.
The guy behind. I do not think this is obvious at all. I mean, this is now a 4-bet pot. He does call. Good call on this one.
Well, but yeah, now he has to call because now you gave him the odds to call.
I guess. Yeah.
For sure. Continue.
Okay, whatever. So the flop is kind of coordinated, but doesn't. It's like 7-8 jack.
So I'm really worried about the guy who flatted behind you, not really the pre-flop raiser as much here.
Well, that's coming. Don't worry about it. That guy checks. The pre-flop raiser then makes it, I think, 300.
Okay, I'm calling.
Okay, I make the call.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like this part is obvious. Once I get here with this hand, I'm never folding to this bet, and I'm never raising by
Yeah, it'd be an overplay.
The other guy folds.
Okay.
Who cold calls. Oh, the river. I mean, the turn was something like a 9. I don't know if it made a 4-card straight. I know it was fairly connected. It might have been like a 6. It was something somewhat connecting, but not super, super scary either. It was not a queen because I would have made this way easier to play. I check. He goes all in. Probably. It was probably a little less than pot.
God.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
You made this hand so hard for yourself.
100%. I mean, 100% I did. I mean, this is definitely on me.
Because, like, he would play queens the same way here because you never given him a reason not to think that you have aces or kings because you didn't 4-bet.
100%. I mean, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I put myself in the worst of predicaments. All I can know is that I bought in for 500. I had 2,000 in front of me, and it's about to be gone. I don't know. I mean, this is one of those that I did not think he would play ace king this way, and I have ace king blocked.
Yeah.
So that leaves
Jacks, which would be a bummer.
jacks, which would be a bummer, aces, and queens. We don't know if he'd 4-bet jacks, so basically aces and queens. And I don't know, with this connected board, I mean, I don't know for a fact he does this with queens. If he doesn't think I have aces or
Didn't queens
kings,
have a gutter?
huh?
Didn't queens also have a gutter?
I think so.
Right, so then they'd have 4, 6 outs if you had aces
Yeah.
or kings. Yeah.
I make the fold. I mean, it's one of those that I'm not sure it was the right poker play. I'm not sure at any point in this hand was the right poker play. But, I mean, it's easy to say, like, hey, if these are fake chips in a vacuum, what the right play is. The problem being is they're not fake chips in a vacuum. The money definitely came into play more than it probably should have.
I think I pay this off for less than pot and just curse my luck or my play how I got there.
There's a huge argument for doing that. I mean, it definitely was.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that the right play is to call, or do you think that's not even the right play? Because I was just thinking, I just end up just calling here and just, I mean, I don't know, whether just being my play caused me to get stacked here because I didn't 4-bet and that's just the fate. My fate was sealed anyway. Or, I mean, if he has aces, I mean, you're a genius. Obviously, we don't know because we didn't show, right? But
Yeah.
because, like, for less than pot, I don't know if you should be folding. But it's a lot of money, too. But that shouldn't matter, right? Like, we were thinking...
Yeah,
in
in a vacuum, it shouldn't. I mean...
Like, I understand how it comes into play, especially whenever you go from playing 1-3 here to moving up in stakes. It definitely matters. Or you definitely can be affected. I think I pay this off and just am sad a lot of the time.
I mean, I think... So we're going to talk about what we could have done to mitigate this, but... Probably... so if we're thinking queens and aces play this way, and those are the two most likely to 4-bet, then basically I have a 50-50 chance to win, and I'm getting better than 50-50 to call.
Yeah.
So probably should be a call here. So, I mean, we went back and forth. It was just one of those, like, in this 4-bet, the range is so limited. Even in a 2-5 game where 3-betting is heavy, 4-betting is...
pretty scarce.
Yeah. The ranges start to go down a whole lot. But a big thing was, I was like, well, if I end up re-raising his 300 for like 1,000, well, then we're pretty much just pot stuck here.
Yeah, I mean, which is just,
But I think later we said that if I can raise small to like 800.
Yeah.
I mean, once you get to this amount, you really don't need the 3 times and all that.
What do you think even about like 7?
Huh?
You said it was 300 he raised it to?
Yeah.
Like, what about 7.5? Well, I guess $50 either way doesn't matter. But...
I mean, if I like 800, I definitely can't say that 750 horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, once I make it 800, if he has aces, he's going all in.
Yes.
I I guess and I think if he goes all in, like after I 5-bet, I think you can just fold kings.
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't. I don't think a lot of people would do that with ace king there, and I don't think a lot of people would do that with queens there. So you're just so. He might have just kings as well. Shit, that's another thing. It's unlikely because I'm blocking them, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, I see unlikely things happen all the time.
Yeah, so
like yesterday, but in one of my sessions. But
it's so that was one of the more interesting hands, and I ended up leaving the session up 600 something, which is kind of a bummer when I was up that much.
It's like a bittersweet type thing.
So and I'll never know if I played it cautiously and saved myself getting stacked there, and saved a win, or if I played it like a bitch and I would have had the best session of my life. So it's gonna be very close, and it's gonna be something I'll just wonder about forever.
Yeah, I'll lean toward the second. But...
That's not shocking. So I end up going to...
talk about a tough night, man. After that first session, losing 700, then coming into this session, getting put in those horrible spots.
Oh, yeah. It was a rough day. I was definitely...
That seems like the most emotionally draining, 8 hours, probably.
I would say that was probably the most tilted I've ever been after a win.
Yeah.
So... I don't think I've ever... made a phone call to you coming off of a win and been that tilted. But yeah, it was the next session ends up at Venetian. I'll quit playing there because they have this jackpot rate, but they were doing a high hand promotion in which you got $300 every half hour if you had the high hand. Problem being was there's 20 tables. So literally your chances of... they're just taking $2 away, and your chances of getting this high hand are almost nil.
Yeah.
I have not liked any sessions at Venetian. Any of these places that are just raking for these jackpots that for the most part just go to the regulars and take money from the tourists and go to the regulars. I am not loving those places, so I wasn't thrilled. I think I was down 226 on the session. It was very, not a lot of interesting hands, a lot of missed. Nothing really big. It was a lot of misses and stuff like that, but I'm very annoyed in Vegas that some of these really nice rooms kind of kill it for, a Venetian just quit doing the jackpot rake and just, did it like Wynn, Aria, and Bellagio. It'd be one of the best rooms in Vegas.
Here's a question for you. I think I've heard about some of the higher stake games that you can forego the jackpot rake, and there's just no jackpot at that table. Does that sound right?
I do know at one casino I did see it posted, but when I asked about it, the dealer about it, they didn't.
They were like, "You want that jackpot? You're gonna hit it."
They didn't put it as an option, and I think at the higher stakes it'd be easier because players are just more knowledgeable. So they're more likely to just want that jackpot rate just right in their stack. At the lower stakes, just people are bad at math, man. So they don't they're going to be like, well, what if I lose with aces and I don't get my $50? So I think at the higher stakes, I think it's great. I think at the lower stakes, you're going to have a hard time getting the entire table to agree to it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's So we're gonna close out with another. I guess. Well, have you been playing poker? How do you have anything to cover this?
Oh yeah, I got all sorts of stuff to cover.
Okay, then we'll go into this Caesar session.
Say nothing good. I have nothing good to cover.
me and you, we are just a train going off the tracks right now. So I go to Caesar's. I hadn't been there in a while, and I like to stay at the Caesars hotels. I want them to keep comping me, and I don't play almost anything other than poker, so better go play some poker there. Go to the 2-5 at Caesars. Flop top two versus a set at the beginning. But luckily, he had like $50 in front of him, or else it would have just been, talk about me just getting up and walking off.
Very weird to have $50 in front of you at the 2-5 game, but
I mean,
things were
weird,
not going
but
good for
super happy about it. You want to talk about someone who's not bitching about it? It's this dude.
What's the minimum buy-in, guys?
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Oh, wait. Yeah, I think I started out the 1-3, and it happened at the 1-3, and I got moved into 2-5, in the next 10 minutes.
I think I remember you telling me that, actually.
Yeah, that's what it was. 'Cause I'm sitting here, I'm how was I was not in for 300. So at the 2-5 game, I've been really experimenting with my pre-flop ranges, looking at some GTO type stuff. At times, I think it's genius. At times, I'm thinking it's getting me in weird spots. So take it for what it's worth. But I have ace 10 of diamonds in the big blind. Player raises to 20. Another player calls. I've gotten to where I like making these squeeze plays with suited Broadway cards. I find that they're pretty easy to play after the flop, and it just kind of puts everybody in a bad spot. I make it 85 to go. You said you really liked this one when I was going over it.
Yeah.
So the pre-flop raiser folds, the field caller calls, kind of adding a weird element to this. The flop comes ace, queen, 10, and I have ace 10 of diamonds. I make it 115. She snap goes all in for 340.
Yeah, I just snap call. It's fine.
I kind of him and off for 10 seconds because I'm God, does she have a straight? And then I finally, I'm never folding here. And I'm well, if you got a straight, you just got a straight. I call. I'm good, and she mucks.
Is that what people are tanking about in these situations? Just wondering if that other person had a straight.
It was 10 seconds. I just wanted to slow it down.
I have no way of knowing. But do you look like someone who has a straight? I always wonder what people are tanking about for so long.
Mine was not a long tank, but yeah, I guess they are. I guess that's what's going on. I tell you what, they say Vegas, that was one thing I was so impressed by, is everybody actually played pretty fast. In Houston, where we play in its time games, it is shocking how much everybody tanks and acts like they are they're in the WSOP. It's the final table, and they are eating the camera time. They're just everybody. They don't have it; they fold. Yeah. It was very nice. So that was a pretty big pot. I ended up taking that down. I have ace king in the small blind. Player raises to 15 and a call. Button 3-bets to 40. I 4-bet to 150.
Okay, wait. Say it one more time.
Player raises to 15. One call. Button 3-bets to 40. I 4-bet to 150.
Okay. I probably make it 200, but all right.
Okay. It's do you put the 4-bet in there?
100%.
Okay. I thought ace king, I think, should be 4-betting that most of the time, and the fact that the 3-better was on the button, I thought it was just a slam dunk at that point. Mm-hmm. It's caller folds, three better calls. Flop comes king 9-7. I make it 140. He calls.
So same bet?
I think so. No, it was actually a little bit less. I think it was kind of. There's not much here.
It was king 9 what?
King 9-7.
Rainbow?
I believe
it's
so.
Got to be. Yeah, I don't mind this bet. I like this.
It's one of those that.
I feel like you're either so far ahead or so far behind.
Kind of my thinking. I guess you could say if I have a king, if he has a king, he's calling more, and so you can make a bet. But also, this could be. I could get suspicious with jacks here or something.
Yeah, I still like my thing. You're either so far ahead or so far behind.
Yeah. The turn is a 5. I go all in. He calls. River's a brick. He showed queen jack of clubs and turned a flush draw.
Well, it worked out great how you played it.
Yeah, that flop bet being small, I actually really ended up. I guess we're saying it ended up being great. He didn't hit a 10.
Yeah.
But, I mean, definitely kept him in there when I think a larger bet definitely just loses all value. Of course, I dodged the world on that river, so it was good play.
Yeah.
I ended up killing this session as well, and then running into a speed bump that came off of a cliff. So I raised king queen suited. There's a caller. A player then 3 bets. I want to say I made it 20, 25. He makes it like 115, 120. This is one of those where I think I probably fold, not looking at these GTO stuff, but all these, like, the more I study, the more people are like, well, you should be calling these suited hands, these suited Broadways to 3 bets.
You could flop a royal.
Yeah, I mean, you could flop a royal. So I call, and this is the other guy calls as well. These field callers in these 3-bet pots, because they don't have strong hands, but it just inflates the pot so much. So it ends up being around 400 or so, as far as the pot goes. I flop a king, pretty dry outside of that. Checks around to the 3-better, he goes all in. He goes all in for like 500 into like 400. What do you do here? Because I sure as hell didn't know.
I mean, it seems like once you get here, your options are pretty limited. I mean, I guess you did spoil it, but I just imagine he's either going to have aces or ace-king here all day, every day. His 3-bet was pretty big, too.
Did I spoil it? Because I think pretty much everybody knows the way this hand goes, except for the guy sitting at the table, which is me. It seems like everybody can figure it out.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, so I'm sure you called. I'm sure you showed ace-king.
I called. I think there was 1 heart down there. I don't know if that matters.
I was say relevance. Oh, you had king queen of hearts. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
he obviously shows aces,
yeah.
and I mean, I lose a pretty big pot. You want to talk about spin off the fucking rails, man? If there's ever a time I should have got the hell up, because it was one that was up a gigantic amount, and then I had already whittled down, and then at that point it was just a horde. I think I was definitely down after that pot.
I mean, and when you gave me this hand, it threw me off so much because you're always the one talking about not calling with these type of hands in 3-bet pots because you're so often dominated. But I was so shocked to hear you make this call.
100%. And then I read stuff by people who are supposedly better than me. I follow their advice, and guess what? It does not work out. My theory was 100% on point.
Yeah. You tell me the theory that is only like 2 sentences, people don't want to buy that.
Yeah.
Too short.
Yeah. Fold when it's a 3-bet and you have a marginal hand. I mean, cool, because, yeah, I don't know, man. It's I will say, it's probably a mistake I won't be doing again. How about that?
At least till next session.
Yeah, until we go play in a couple hours, and you're gonna see me king queen suited all in here. It's but that was so that kind of is where that Vegas trip. I think at this point I'm probably close to even. So it's I think actually the win got me about even, and that put me down is where that happened. So that was but
I thought you played one more day. That was it.
Oh no, I played several more, but I figured let's go into your session because that's going to make for a long podcast if we cover my entire trip at this point.
Yeah. I had a session at Paramount that I was playing the round of each. Things started off going very poorly. I won a gigantic all-in with 3 ways. I think I had a straight draw, a flush draw, A pair, maybe, something like that. But the moral of the story is I ended up playing with, hey, king, queen suited.
Hope it's a better story than mine.
It's for less money, at least. So we're playing 1-2. I'm in the small blind. Someone opened like 10 when like call. I made it like 40 because we're playing pretty short-handed.
Okay.
It goes heads up. One guy calls, the button calls. The flop comes ace high. I was like, well, that's not great, but I feel like I can c-bet this enough to take it down if he doesn't have an ace.
I like that.
And I have all the good aces.
I think this is a really good bet, and then the minute you get resistance, you're done, right?
Yes. I bet, I believe it was like 65, 70.
Okay.
He hums and haws, tanks, and he calls. I'm like, well, okay. Oh, it was ace deuce 5 rainbow.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I mean, not worried about 3-4 here. So I was like, whatever. But then once he called, I was like, well, that's not great. The turn is a queen. What do you do here on this queen?
I like a check. Okay, so when he hems and haws here, if he's got an ace, I don't want to bet this queen because I don't really feel, because if you bet here and you think he's got an ace, you're turning this queen into a bluff, which I think you are ahead of some of his calling range. Because especially like ace deuce 5, could be pocket 8s, could be pocket 7s, could be pocket 10s. And I mean, he just thinks you have an ace every time. You're now beating all of that, so you have showdown value. And if he has an ace, I don't think he's necessarily folding. I like the check on the queen.
I check, he snap checks it behind.
Okay.
The river is like an offsuit 8. And I'm like, man, I feel like he just has ace weak kicker here and I can get him off of it.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking in the moment. Because I was like, I don't think my queen is good here. I need to turn this into a bluff. Take this down.
Okay.
If you're going to go this route, which I know you didn't really like it, but if you are, what bet size do you think you're going to go here?
Oh, I mean, if you are going to go this route and that's what you're trying to get him off of, it has to be big.
Okay. What do you consider big into this?
I would say like pot.
How much was pot? What was it? It was like, it was just like $200, right? Because it was, I bet 275. So
okay.
Over pot.
Okay.
He tanks forever, and he calls with ace-6 offsuit, and I'm just completely confused, and just kind of am done and get up and leave. I ended up getting it in with like a draw, but that was basically the moral of the story, though.
I thought this was an interesting game. I will say that I think there's several things you did that I love, and there's several things you did that I didn't like.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like losing. I hated that.
I hated the losing part.
Playing king queen suited, love that.
Yeah, I love that part. This is where I had an issue. This is the thing I loved, is like you were able to put him. I mean, your hand reading on this hand was really, really good. I mean, he had exactly what you thought he had.
No, I can do that so often. It's so horrible that I can't win, though.
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly what he has. Cannot win.
Like the hand reading, 100%. I mean, you read his hand, and like as far as that goes, 100%. You were dead on. You knew you were not winning, and that the queen needed to be turned into a bluff. All of that, I think, is really, really good and heads up. Problem being, I didn't like is once you check the turn, I feel like you're capped.
Oh, no, definitely.
So, because, I mean, if you have an ace, I mean, if you have a bigger ace, seems very weird that like now you're scared of a random queen.
Yeah, like you have ace king here. You're still just betting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It seemed like I feel like when you don't bet that turn, I feel like it is such a gap in the story. And I'm not saying you should bet that turn. I think that's probably why it probably should be checked on the river. Is because on that, you still have show. Because here's the thing: is you either have showdown value against everything that he does, which on your part you hand read and knew that you didn't have showdown value, but on the other part, he's getting him off in an ace, and he's either going to be a good player, which it doesn't sound like he was, and kind of see the gap in that story, or he's going to be a bad player, and bad players have a hard time folding aces.
Yeah, especially ace-6 offsuit. Such a premium.
Yeah, it's a premium. How he was even in a 3-bet pot is insane. So it's there was. I thought the hand reading on that was really done really, really well. I just didn't like the texture of the bluff.
Oh, I remember the hand that I went out with. It was a PLO hand. I had 9-10 Jack Queen double suited. I went all in for like $170 maybe.
All in pre-flop?
Mm-hmm. And it got called like 4 ways. And I got called by pocket deuces, 9 deuce 4 like king, something like that. It was the most ridiculous pre-flop hands ever. It was so ridiculous.
Paramount, PLO at Paramount sounds about right.
It was crazy. I lost.
Was it raised and then you just potted it over the top to get it all in pre-flop?
I potted over the top. It got repotted all in.
I think this is fine. This is going to be a hand that's going to beat their hands so often. It's just one of those.
Well, no. Here's the crazy thing: is they had way more money than me.
Yeah.
Well, no. I'm saying this. I went all in, and then they potted it over the top of me, and then repotted it over the top of that, and then the other guy called. So the main pot was very small in this.
Yeah.
It was a gigantic pot, and I think it was a weird hand, like 5-8 one with a weird straight or something.
Yeah, I love this play. I think this is a very, very positive EV play in the long run. It's PLO, so it's going to take 2,000 hands for the long run to happen. But I like this play.
I would say 2,000 sessions.
That's probably more like it.
But yeah, that was the last interesting one. And then I had, we'll end on this one just because we're going to make it short. The most boring session ever yesterday. I showed up.
I'm glad it's at the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Definitely don't want to start off the podcast with that kind of energy.
But no, I showed up and I literally didn't get any hands, didn't play any hands, didn't hit any hands, and just slowly lost and went home.
Sounds awesome.
I was like, well then, this is a complete waste of time. I'm out. Yeah, my best hand was I had ace jack of clubs. The flop came 6, 7, 8 rainbow. Guy donks out for over pot. I fold. He shows 5, 9 offsuit.
Riveting.
Yep. So on that, unless do you have anything else to cover, or is that going to wrap this up? So we have maybe 5 minutes if you got anything. If not,
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's focus back so we can keep it somewhat current, and I'll just go over the session I did yesterday.
Okay.
And the day before. So it's a. Well, I don't know what I say about yesterday. That was a complete punt.
Yes, let's cover that.
Yeah, it's
It's better to cover the complete punt at the end of the podcast rather than at the beginning of next.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because I heard about the punt at the beginning.
So we're going to go to the most current and go back. I go to Spades and Clear Lake. And I don't know why I keep going back there.
I thought you were going to say...
I am tilted the minute I walk in the damn door. It's just... And don't get me wrong, I have people I know who work there, so I want them to do well. It's just so shitty.
Yeah.
It is... I mean, the ceilings are, lower than a regular house. There are so many tables. They are packed. It is so loud. I don't know why I keep going back.
Everyone's complaint to me is the restroom. I've never been, but that's the big complaint I always hear.
This is how bad it is. They recently redid the bathroom to now it went from the literal worst bathroom as far as layout I've ever been in my life to now just way below average.
I think
that's after the remodel.
I think I say still the worst. Just their old worst is now gone. So
I mean, it's clean. I'm not saying you walk in there there's crap everywhere, but it's just everything is so tight.
Oh yeah, that's what I hear. I hear it's very small.
Yeah, they remodeled and it's still pretty bad. But it's so I go in there and I just do not get hands forever and a day. Don't think I get involved in. Yeah, I didn't get involved in anything. End up with a PLO hand, aces double suited. I pot it pre-flop. 2 callers. Flop comes 9-6-3 2 hearts. I'm like, well, this is pretty unconnected. There's no flush. There's no straight. And, I mean, it's not like we have, 8 people playing in this hand. We only have 3. I'm like, aces are... And I potted it, so there's probably some overpairs that, that missed as well. I go ahead and pot it. Do you like this or do you not like this?
I don't know about potting it. Do you ever think about a smaller bet?
Like 2/3 pot or half pot?
Maybe half pot. How is it heads up?
No, it's there's me and 2 others.
Yeah, I definitely don't like the pot. Just because if you didn't hit anything, it seems... I mean, I know this is... It seems like someone has to hit something, right? Well, no, I'm just saying for pot.
Well, I mean, my thing is like when I half pot it, I mean, I really don't know where I'm at still. Because, I mean, there's just so much stuff that can call.
Yeah, my thought is, though, you're not going to like whatever calls this pot bet.
You are right. If you've ever been right in your life, you're right.
Well, okay.
Guess what I'm not going to like even more.
Well, okay. So, let's say, what if someone raises?
Well, you're about to find out.
Okay, go ahead.
So make it 100. Goes around to one guy, he folds. The next guy pots it for all in.
For humor's sake, how much is all in?
Well, he has me covered, and all I've done is lose. So I have it's 220 more.
Okay, so you made it 100 pre-flop. Is that what you said? No,
made it 30 pre-flop. Made it 100 on the flop.
And then it's 230 more.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So I just take a football and light it up and just pump my stack rod across the table because I hate money. In no way could this ever be considered a call, but I threw my chip in and said call. What
did he have? Did he have a set?
Oh, I mean, he flopped gold. Because I was thinking, he seemed like a thinking player, and I was like, this is a guy who knows that I probably have aces here. And I was like, he could do this with a flush draw or something to get me off, try to get me off of this or something like that. I'm getting really good pot odds. I mean, even if he's doing this with a draw, he's very likely to win. I mean, could be a multi-draw, could have, a straight and flush draw or a ton of different things. And every made hand's got me drawing damn near dead. He flopped 2 pair with a flush draw.
Dang.
Yeah, it was... just the biggest of punts, man. Literally, I just can't...
It's like
afterwards,
3.
I was like, what in God's name was I even thinking for that moment? It's, it was one of those. It was definitely should have been a fold. Because just when he goes over the top, the draws are not far behind, and every made hand's got me damn near drawing dead. I did have a backdoor nut flush draw. That did not come.
I was about to say, and?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a crazy twist of the story? And I hit!
So it was not my best moment as at the poker table. I try to be honest with myself when I'm running bad or I'm playing bad. I mean, this one 100% was just playing bad. It was so I mean, like I say, if I can get those two down, it's like, you know, that I can at least improve my play. Like, this was not running bad. This was being card dead for 2.5 hours and then kind of losing your mind after that. But, you know, the play itself was just a bad play. So,
that happens.
I mean, more than I would like it to.
I was about to say, it's never good when I'm confusing your puns.
Yeah, no kidding. Tyler's like, I'm trying to get them all. We're going to need a video podcast so we can put it on a whiteboard of where you're putting, because there's just so many.
Yes, I was thinking of a different pun you were talking about. But all right, on that note, this concludes the Texas Poker Podcast. We'll talk to you next week.
That was the Texas Poker Podcast. Go ahead and rack up, add time, and we'll see you next week.